إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Dear brothers and sisters, the khutbah today will be about the goals of Shaytan. I have been doing many khutbahs in the last few weeks, stressing about the importance of the unity among Muslims. Is there a problem with, maybe I can use this one? They can't hear upstairs. Can you hear now upstairs or? Try it. I'll use just this one then. Dear brothers and sisters, in my last khutbahs I have been insisting on the importance of unity among Muslims. I want to overthrow the sects of Islam because we want unity, but we have to understand our history. You understand, we complain about Yemen, we complain about other countries, but all these interwars among Muslims are due to sectarian beliefs. And so we have to understand them and take lessons from them and try to have a dialogue between Muslims and understanding that despite our beliefs, our difference in beliefs, we should not have sectarian differences and killings like in Pakistan where different groups exist. We must try to have dialogue between ourselves and not have sectarian fights. Likewise, the next weeks I spoke about the differences in fiqh. How 100 years ago, even like 70 years ago, you know, at the time of scholars in Sham, and you know, they used to have different, for the same prayer, they used to have different congregation, which is an innovation in Islam. There's no other words to categorize such things. It is an innovation in Islam. It has no place in Islam to have two congregations in the same masjid because of differences in fiqh. Then we spoke about the importance of ittiba', that we should follow, we respect the old imams, and we should love them and defend their honor because they have done a great services to Islam. And obviously, we quoted some hadith of Ibn Abbas saying that you take the opinions of Umar and Abu Bakr, while the Prophet ﷺ said, people nowadays can argue that, look, at that time, you know, it was easy, but nowadays the scholars, they differ on rulings of hadith, so the layman, he has to blind follow. And we say, no, he doesn't have to blind follow. Because even at the time of the Sahaba, some differences regarding to inheritance, you know, Ilm al-Fara'id, they had differences about the, because this case did not exist in the Quran and Hadith. So Abu Bakr had a different opinion, Umar and he changed his opinion with Zayd, and with the inheritance of the grandfather with the brother. Someone who has no children, no father, he only has a grandfather and brother, sister. So they have done two different kinds of analogies. And at the end of the day, we are not telling people, you know, that at the time of the Sahaba, they were not forced to take one opinion. So this is what we're telling people. You are not forced to take any opinion or fatwa of a scholar. If you're here, two muftis in your country, they give different fatwas regarding marriage, divorce, you can look at the evidences, look which one makes sense to you the most and choose it. You understand? Some people, they say, yeah, but people will choose the easiest fatwa, it will cause chaos, we need to do blind following. No, because at the time of the Sahaba, there was none who said, oh, because Umar gives a stronger fatwa, I will just take Abu Huraira or Ibn Masud's fatwa. So I will just be Abu Bakr, I will be Siddiqi, I will be, you can learn from a scholar. This is what the scholars are saying. You can learn from a mazhab as a tool of learning to know their rules. There is no problem. The scholars have not opposed learning. The students of Ibn Masud, they stayed with him, they learned his rules. The students of Ibn Abbas, they stayed with him. You can learn from a teacher, a scholar, from a madrasa, and you can have different understanding or sets of rules regarding a hadith. Do you accept khabar mursal or not? That's fine. But whichever rule you choose at the end, you have to be consistent with your rules and you have to accept valid differences of opinion, and you should let the layman choose freely. Because the layman, he has the right. You cannot force upon him an opinion just because his parents are born in Algeria or parents are born in India or your parents have this school of thought. So you must take this opinion. This is what we are saying. Basically, the layman, he has the choice that if for triple talaq, the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah goes outside of four school of thought. He says in one sitting, if a husband gives 3 times, it is counted as one, and this is based on many ahadith, and this was the opinion of Ibn Abbas. 100 years ago, some scholars, they were mocking this opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah. Today, Al-Azhar Sharif has taken the opinion, and it is part of the Egyptian constitution, the opinion of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. So, what we are saying is, if people are not convinced by this opinion, they want to take the opinion of the four mazahib, it is their freedom to choose. Look at the evidences and choose. At the same time of the Sahaba had the free will, they had the chance to look at the opinions of each scholars, and according to the level, understand, shall I accept this type of hadith or not, shall I not? Look at the opinions of scholars. So it is all this bigotry and fanaticism and saying, oh, we must divide the ummah in 4 pieces, else people will take the easiest opinion. This could have existed at the time of Sahaba. But the Sahaba, they did not say, those of Iraq, they must take the opinion of Ibn Masud or Abu Musa al-Ashari. Those of Makkah, they must take the opinion of Ibn Abbas. And then if another Ibn Umar comes to Hajj, they must not take fatwa from him. This type of sectarian and sinking and forcing, this has created problems in the Ummah. And we should encourage people. Those who want to learn the Hanafi fiqh, you can learn. Those who want to learn the Shafi fiqh, and marry your children. The children, they can choose. If their parents says it's haram to eat prawns, the mother says it's halal, the children can choose. Look at the opinions. They have different set what is halal and haram. The horse, can I eat it? The father can be Maliki and he says, yes, you eat. The mother can be Hanafi and she says, no, and the children can choose. There is no compulsion for you to take any opinion. So this is why we always stressed on, living Islam as it was at the time of Sahaba. At that time, you could ask a mufti, take the opinion which pleases you. Whether this opinion is the strongest or the more severest, it gives you more penalty, you have to choose within your own heart. You shouldn't think for facility, but you should not always take the strongest opinion. Why take the strongest opinion for you? You understand? And deprive yourself of inheritance, which you might have. So you have to look at evidences, or sometimes there are some fatwa which can make, the life of combining the prayers. You say, oh, I'm going to take the strict. Why? If most of the mazhab say you can combine prayers and you're convinced by the evidences, the mazhab of your parents, it's not an obligation for you to follow. And you can still be Hanafi, like many great muhaddis, Shah Waliullah, Abdul Luqnavi, and take opinions outside your school of thought. This is many of the Maliki scholars, Maliki, Shafi, they still follow one school, but they take opinions outside. So this is what we stress upon, is with respecting the schools of thought and the imams, have encouraging free thinking, mixings of different masajid, not having any name on a masjid. The masajid, they belong to Allah. They do not belong to any imam or any traditions. In Pakistan, you find the name of is Hanafi, this under school Hanafi, and this sect and this group of, this is totally haram to particularize and to give any subsect or any sub-school while respecting the founders of the school to any masjid or any congregation. So I wanted to, because whenever we see the news, and I'm not going to comment on Ukraine and Russia, all these news, because this is not direct, it's between the Ahl Kitab, the Orthodox. But what is happening to the Muslims, we have to learn lessons from history. What's happening in India, Burma, and Palestine and other places, we have to learn these lessons from history. So now we'll start my khutbah today about the goals of Shaytan. Obviously, my khutbah is based on a book of Sheikh Jamaluddin Zarabozo, who has a book on khutbah. So obviously, I took his khutbah because I found it excellent. And obviously, I've taken some bits out and I've added some bits. Sheikh Jamaluddin Zarabozo, I mean, we're always amazed at how much these people who became Muslim from Puerto Rican origin, how much they influenced, like Bilal Phillips, Abdurrahim Green, how much they inspired the Muslims in the 90s, when many of us starting practicing and there were the only books available. We all must have in his house the 40 hadiths, and then he translated many books of fiqh, like Fiqh al-Sunnah of Sayyid Sabir, Al-Wajiz of Jamaluddin Badawi, and he published many other books which the Saudi ministry published, like What is Islam or The Human Rights in Islam. So Sheikh Jamaluddin Zarabozo, he had excellent khutbahs. So my khutbah today is about the goals of Shaytan. There is no question that one of the greatest enemy facing believers is Shaytan. His hatred for us is great and has very long history dating back to the creation of Adam. His promise to Allah to mislead all the Micah has been stated in the Quran and Hadith. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breathed Adam his spirit, and now I need to explain this sentence, because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that he breathed his spirit, we have to understand it in the same way as the scholars of the Salaf understood. His spirit is, scholars say, it's izafat shrifi, meaning Allah attributed to himself out of honor. Like Allah says, Ka'batullah, Naqatullah, the camel of Allah, the house of Allah. And likewise, his spirit is a created spirit. It is not a part of Allah's essence, which he put, because this is the belief of the Christians. And this is how the scholars, Ibn al-Kathir and all others in that tafsir, they explain this verse. So it is very important, because many esoterical thinkers, many Batini thinkers, many people influenced by, they start saying, oh, the soul has one aspect uncreated, one created, and Allah has put some bits of him, and all these esoterical sects and mystical people, some of them after starting to claim to be Allah, and we know what happened to them in Baghdad. They were crucified, and all others, all this mystical school of Persian and mixed with Persian philosophy. So we must have a clear belief regarding Allah's essence is separate from the essence of the creation. And none of Allah's essence can dwell in any human being in any form or kinds. So when Allah breathed into Adam his spirit, he ordered the angels to prostrate to Adam. Iblis used to worship Allah with the angels, so the orders was also addressed to him. So Iblis was not an angel, but the order was addressed to him because he was a great worshipper. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him with the angels. And he said, I am better than him. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. Then when Adam opened his eyes, he found a great and generous gesture, the angels bowing down to him. But he found a great enemy for him that would try to lead him and his descendant to destruction. Shaytan Iblis said, قَالَ أَنذِرْنِي إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ قَالَ إِنَّكَ مِنَ الْمُنذَرِينَ. Iblis said, reprieve me till the day when they are raised. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you are of those who are reprieved in Surah Al-A'raf. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a time because he challenged Allah's decision. You understand? We have to understand from these verses that we have to be satisfied with Allah's decision. It doesn't matter that you believe He's one, He has no partners, but if you, by arrogance, reject, not out of laziness, one is a sin, that out of laziness, you acknowledge Allah's decision, I accept Allah's ruling, I accept Allah's system, I accept Allah's system of inheritance, His fire prayer, I accept, but out of laziness, you neglect some obligation, this is a sin. But you challenge Allah's decision, you say, I will not accept it, this out of arrogance, I don't accept this decision. This is the essence of Iblis kufr. Then the accursed one made he said, قَالَ فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي لَأَقُودَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ ثم لآتينهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم ومن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ولا تجدوا أكثرهم شاكرين. He said, no, because you have sent me astray. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not misguide him, but he chose misguidance. You know, because Allah ta'ala gave the jinn and the humans the free will. So we have the free will to choose, unlike angels. And this is why we are superior to angels, the believers. So I shall lurk in ambush at their right, I shall come them from behind them and from their right hands and their left hand, and you will not find most of them to be thankful. Since the greatest enemy of mankind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught through the Quran and Hadith many things about Shaytan. So we must know about his plots, his different ways to misguide Muslims, and how can be victorious among us, because Shaytan, he has different type of strategy for different type of people. So we must learn in this khutbah 6 different stratagems and plots of Shaytan to misguide human beings. The first thing Shaytan will do, and many scholars like Hafiz ibn al-Qayyim, they have summarized this as well, these plots of Shaytan. The first things he will try to push human being is towards kufr and shirk. Because kufr and shirk, this will lead you to hell forever. So Iblis said, إِنَّمَا يَدْعُو حِزْبَ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا يَدْعُو حِزْبَهُ لِيَكُونُ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. He is only summons his faction to be owners of the flaming fire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further said in Surah Al-Hashr, كَمَثَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِذْ قَالَ لِلْإِنسَانِ كْفُرْ فَلَمَّا كَفَرَ قَالَ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِنْكَ إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهَ رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Or the likeness of Satan when he tells man to disbelieve. When he disbelieves, he says, verily I am innocent of you, verily I fear Allah, the Lord of the world. So this, his utmost challenge is for you to become disbeliever and a polytheist. And we have already spoken about different kinds of shirk. Many scholars have lectures about it. And we should not take these matters easily. That, oh, I believe Allah is one, I'm not doing shirk. Because nowadays on YouTube, you can see in different countries, people are sacrificing, oh, this is the tree of a saint. They're coming, they're gathering, this, you know, and scholars, they're coming and cutting this tree. And this is not something new. Hafiz ibn Kathir in Bidayah Nihaya, he said at the time of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, people used to, oh, this is the tree of a saint, and they used to bring sheep and sacrifice and invokes and do religious vow, nether at these trees. And Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, at that time, he used to cut these trees. So this shirk, all the matters of kufr, scholars have written books about them. And it is very important we teach our youth to read books. With the social media, they are not reading like we used to read in the 90s. And we have to see, like books of Bilal Phillips about Tawheed, they need to learn this. Horoscope is kufr, magic is kufr. You know, we see many of the Muslims still reading in Muslim countries, in Pakistan, reading horoscope. This is kufr. Black magic is kufr. Kahana, all of this is kufr. Mocking the religion is kufr. But belittling a prophet is kufr. You know, you can say, oh, I believe in Allah. But if you make fun of the religion, you insult Allah, you insult his messenger, any of the prophet, you degrade them, you mock them, you say a word of degrading. The scholars have written, all the fuqaha, the Ahnaf, the Shawafi, the Mamalik, they have written in the books of fiqh what makes a person disbeliever. So what is kufr is not only denying. Ibn al-Qayyim, he explained the different types of kufr, the kufr, juhud, takdhib, you know, denying Allah. This is the mainstream. But among the other types of kufr, there are other types of kufr which we need to learn. So the basic books in English, well written by Sheikh Bilal Phillips, everyone should tell his children to read them and be aware of this hand of Fatima, having shoes behind your car in Pakistan. It will protect you from any... This is kufr and shirk, such matters, brothers. I'm not speaking about the ruling on the individual, which the scholars have written conditions and whatever, you know, they need to do tawbah, whatever. I'm speaking about the matter of kufr. So we need to understand kufr, like I said before, and kufr, it's mockery, even killing a prophet. The scholars there said if mocking, you know, the people that in the Quran, it addressed those who were making fun of the religion, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rejected their excuses. They say you become kafir after being Muslims. So the scholars, they said even in previous nations, if you say I'm monotheist, I'm people of Tawheed, I don't worship grave, I don't worship trees, but you decide willfully to kill a prophet, you will become disbeliever. This is like Iblis, open rebellion. Any action of you say, I don't accept the ruling of hijab, I don't accept the ruling of inheritance, you deny any ruling which is known by necessity, ma'lum min ad-din bi darura, upon which, it's not a matter some people say it's wajib or not. You become a disbeliever. Obviously, there are conditions after to give the fatwa upon this. So this, my brothers and sisters, we have to learn the different kinds of kufr. Kufr al-hinad, kufr al-a'rad. You can say I'm a Muslim, but I don't mind someone else. He became a disbeliever. I don't mind this. No. If you're satisfied with kufr, this is kufr as well. Oh, I'm Muslim, but there's other ways to Allah. This is kufr. Wahdatul adyan, unity of religions. Some esoterical sects, Ikhwan Safa, all the ways are right to Allah, and whichever religion you follow, this is how. All of this is kufr. Wahdatul adyan and Ibrahim religion. There's no such thing as Ibrahimi religion. There's only the religion of Islam, which is truth, which is the religion of all prophets. So saying any other religion is another way to Allah, no. Islam abolished all other religions. Anyone who hears about the Prophet ﷺ and does not accept him, I'm not speaking about the Ahl Fitra who have not heard about him. Those who have heard, they were given all the chances to learn. Preachers in your country are giving you, and you refuse it. You can't say, oh, they have a way to Allah. Like, unfortunately, many of the laymen are saying. You understand? Being satisfied with kufr is kufr. So we have to be careful about kufr. The second plot of Shaytan is if he cannot make you do any action or statement of kufr, making fun of the religion, or any black magic, he will make you do innovation. And why the scholars have put innovations above sins? It is because the person who's doing an innovation does not know he is doing a sin. He thinks he is guided. He thinks by my innovation I'm getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Qadari, he has a good opinion. He's saying I'm denying destiny because if Allah knew before the action of the people, he would be unjust. So Allah does not know. And some of the people of Kalam, they say Allah does not know the juziyat. They had a good intention, but they become innovator. The people of Jabariya, those who denied destiny, they had good intention. They said Allah controls everything, so the human being has no control. No, this is another innovation. But these innovations, they're worse than sinning. Why? Because the one who drinks alcohol, he knows he's sinning, he knows he has to do tawbah, he's weak. Okay? But the one who has a false sense of belief, he thinks he's doing right. And he's rewarded by his innovation. So we have to warn against innovation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is not forcing you towards kufr. You choose sin or disbelief by your own actions if you do so. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has over control of it, and he lets this happen, but he does not force it upon you. So there is no jabr and there's no denial of predestinity. Likewise, the Mu'tazila, they had good intention. They called themselves people of justice and tawheed, and they said we're refuting the Christians. So this is why they denied the attributes of Allah. Not because they hated Islam, but they had good intention. They say, oh, if you don't declare the Quran created, then the Christian who say Isa is the speech of Allah. So the way why they tortured the scholars, Imam Ahmad, on the Quran created, they did it out of good intention. They did not do it out of hatred of Islam, but they were misguided. So this is why we need to learn these books of scholars and know the speech of Allah is not created. The Quran is not created. It is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why it is important, my dear brothers and sisters, to know about innovations. If Shaitan fails to make you do any action of shirk, any action of kufr, then he fails you to have any wrong belief, he fails you to curse the Sahaba, he fails you to be Khariji, do takfir because of sins, he fails you to become any of these misguided sects, then he will try any esoterical sects, Batinia who deny the Sharia, they will try major sins. Then his next step is, oh, my brother, you have the right belief, you don't do shirk, you don't dance around graves, you don't insult the companions, you don't, but it's okay, you can do small sins, it's okay. Because you have the right belief now, don't worry. This is the next step of Shaitan, and this is some of the early sects of Islam, some scholars, they said it's the belief of irja, separating actions from belief. and saying we have the same belief, Abu Bakr and my iman is the same, and basically everyone will go to paradise, and diluting the dangers of sins, saying because you have the right beliefs, it's okay, my brother, don't worry. So this is very dangerous. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned against this. إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء في الخمر والميسر. Satan seeks only to cast among you enmity and hatred, means of strong drinks and games. إنما يريد بالسوء والفحشاء وأن تقولوا على الله ما لا تعلمون. He enjoins upon you the evil and the foul, and that you should say something about Allah which you do not know. So we can see in this verse the danger of speaking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you do not have knowledge. If you know a ruling, give it. If you don't know, just say, I do not know. And this is what the Salaf used to do. Imam Malik on many fatwa, he did not know, he said, I do not know. But nowadays, I mean, many of the preachers and thinkers, they start speaking about issues which they have not properly studied. And in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet said, Inna Shaytan qad ya'isa yu'badu al-musalluna walakin fi tahrisha baynahum. Verily, Shaitan despairs that you should be worshipped by the performers of prayers, but he will instigate between them. Meaning Shaitan tries to create hatred between the Muslims, and we have already spoken about the history of Muslim. Even the Banu Umayyah between themselves, they killed themselves, and whatever happens between the different rulers and dynasties, and we will not go over it. So if you do not do any of the major sins, then the next step of Shaitan, and you know, this is, what is important is some people of, Sunnah, this is what, on these major sins, we have to be careful as well. Because in the same way it is important to warn against shirk and bid'ah, it is very important to speak of tazkiyah. Sheikh Abdurrahman Abdul Khaliq in his book, the Usul of Salafi, he said tazkiyah is one of the third principle, and without tazkiyah, we should not speak about other issues. If unfortunately, many of the speakers in the West, they neglect this part of tazkiyah. If you're not sincere, if you're not truthful, if you're not cheating your community, if you're not doing any major sins, and we have seen in the world many accusations against many preachers and others of immorality. So you can be a person of Tawheed, you can be a person of the Sunnah, but be careful, brothers, of taking sometimes statement of the Salaf out of context. Or Imam Ahmad said, I'd rather come on the Day of Judgment with sins rather than innovation. He said in his context, because at this time, sins, intoxications, they were not open. Prostitution in new society, the scholar has to see and not say, because if you repeat to a teenager, these statements of the Salaf, which they said in the 3rd century in Baghdad, and you applied them in Cambridge, you can have problems. The youngsters, you say, I'm on Tawheed, now I can go to nightclubs. I'm on Tawheed. I'm not doing sin. The scholar, they said it's better to come with all sins rather than innovation. So we have to explain to people, the danger of the belief of irja. Why? The scholars, what they said is true, but they said in a context. And they said it to show the ugliness of innovation. But they did not say to people, it's okay to drink alcohol or it's okay to do zina. Because why? Some scholars, they said, in the West, if you live in a society where the youth is called to atheism, doing many sins, some preachers in the West, some YouTubers, a few months ago in December, they were on YouTube speaking about Tawheed, shirk. And in January, they've declared they've become non-Muslims. They follow some satanic cult, Jamaican cult. So what I'm saying to you, brothers, being upon Tawheed and Sunnah, and you don't have tazkiyah, you don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't exert yourself in worship in the same way Imam Ahmad used. He used to warn against innovators, and he used to worship at nights. So if you neglect tazkiyah in your lessons, in your khutbah, in your weekly lessons, all our Salaf, they had weekly lessons of tafsir in Pakistan. You have to have tazkiyah. You're longing for Allah, you fear of Allah, loving the Prophet, loving the companions. And if you do not, you just focus on refuting people, but you do not look after your heart, the heart of your children. How many good people of the Sunnah have apostated, and just in recent months in America, a famous YouTuber. So this is why, brothers, we should always ask guidance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and be careful of this belief of irja, saying, I have good belief, it doesn't matter if I'm drinking or if I'm doing this, if I'm gambling. No, my brother, because Once the sins harden your hearts, then you end up in bad company. The bad company might lead you to atheist people. You hang around with bad people, and then you become non-Muslims. Or you leave the prayer, which is kufr according to the Hanbali mazhab, not according to the others. So what I'm saying, brothers, is we must be careful upon this. So I will take a short break, and I will just finish my khutbah in a few minutes about the other issue, the other plots of Shaytan. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Obviously, after if he cannot make you drink alcohol, do gambling, do any of these dangerous sins, the next step Shaitan will do is doing small sins. Oh, it's just a small sin, my brother. Oh, you by doing wudu, it will be washed. Don't worry. You understand? Oh, I'm just making fun of this brother. I'm just doing riba. It's a small, my next wudu, it will be washed. No, my brother. Because the small sin, it will lead to the major sins. You understand? Oh, it's not zina, it's just I'm watching a movie. Okay, there's, it's bad things. It's just a small sin. But my brother, this small sin might lead you tomorrow to major sin, adultery or zina with a real woman. You understand? Not on the computer. So what I'm saying is the next level is small sins. After small sins, what Shaitan will do is try to discourage you doing many actions. He said, you're doing the pillars, that is enough. You don't need to engage yourself in dawah. You don't need to engage yourself in circles of knowledge. That is good enough for you. You're praying, you're not doing any, you're not worshipping trees. You're not doing sajda to human beings. You're upon tawheed. You're not doing black magic. You're not having, the belief of sex. You believe in qadar. You believe in, you're not doing major sins. You're not gambling. Alhamdulillah. You're praying 5 times a day. You're not doing you avoid minor. Avoiding minor sins is almost impossible because Allah has created us weak. So I do tawbah whenever I do. I give sadaqah if I do here and there. If I say wrong thing or, I insult someone, I do sadaqah. But the next thing is, I'm doing enough. I'm doing more than others. Look, he's doing nightclubs. I'm not. So it's okay for me. I don't need to do da'wah. Abdurrahim Green, Bilal Phillips, they're doing it. I don't need to do da'wah to non-Muslims. I don't need to spend extra on the religion for the spread of Islam. I have a level that's good enough for me. I learned when I was young. I don't need to further go to circles. This is another plot. And those who have attained certain level, Shaitan will go, you already have a level. Don't go above. Just stop at this limit. So this will be the plot of Shaitan. And the last one, if you are doing extra knowledge, you're doing extra activities for the spread of Islam, you're supporting IRA, you're going conferences, you're volunteering in many Islamic organizations, alhamdulillah, then Shaitan, his last 6th step is he will increase for you the permissible actions. It's okay sometimes to relax, watch a football match, watch entertainment, or relax with the family, but he will increase you. And during lockdown, unfortunately, many scholars have spoken, it says binge series is 12 hours a day Netflix. It's not like 1 hour, 2 hours of Quran and 1 hour series, then going out with family, then little bit da'wah. No, 12 hours of series, the things which are permissible, you can do some gaming, sports, other activities. This is what Shaitan will try to do to you. So obviously this won't lead you to hellfire. It is permissible to do these actions. But by doing excess with them, he will turn you for more important things. And having relaxed time, sports time is very important. Because it refreshes your mind then to be stronger and your body to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I will end my khutbah upon this to remind myself and my brothers about the different plots of Shaitan. And at the beginning of the khutbah, I just concluded my previous khutbah on the importance of the unity of Muslims. And we have to learn from our history. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا ولم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لكننا من الخاسرين. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا واخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا. أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم كافرين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما وأقيم الصلاة.